Do you hear that?
Hear what?
The silence. It's nice.
I loved the premise of The Strangers, also hated it at the same time because I feel like this is something that actually could happen. What was your experience when you first watched the original film for both of you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually watch the original film with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman until I'd actually booked this role. So I got to watch it with some friends in a living room, and like, you know, we were in this creaky house, and it was very spooky, and it was, I don't know, the performances were so good, and the ambience was so good, and like, what really stood out to me watching it was like how much you pay attention to what's happening on screen, like where you're like focused on Liv Tyler and when you're focused on the characters, but also like it trains you to pay attention to what's not happening directly on screen, like seeing Scarecrow like right behind Liv Tyler in the kitchen and things like that, where it was like, oh no, I have to like be more engaged as an audience member, and that's like what I loved about watching the 2008 version, and like, yeah, that's what I love about horror in general as a genre. So.
Absolutely. How about yourself?
So when I was like 13, I made it my mission to watch every horror film at my local Blockbuster. And so when this came to DVD and was in my local Blockbuster around 14 years old, I watched it at home alone. And I've said this 100 times, even before I made these movies, like that was my favorite scary movie of all time.
Yeah.
It really was. Like, it's one of those things where a lot of things, nothing really scares me in scary movies, except for hyper-realism, and this feels like it could actually happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Set us up, Froy. Tell us a little bit about the dynamic between Maya and Ryan in this film.
Yeah, Maya and Ryan are a really solid couple of like 5 years. They're long term. They're in it together, and you know, they've had some like communication issues at the front of the movie that they're kind of sorting out throughout the film. But they also like share a secret language. They share a sense of humor. They know each other better than anyone else in the world, and they have such like a deep love and longing for each other. And so it was just important to really like play that and make sure that felt palpable across the screen. You know?
Absolutely. Now, the dynamic between the attackers and the victims is central to The Strangers. How does the relationship and interaction between Maya and the Strangers kind of evolve throughout the film series?
So I always look at this first film as a launch pad. We are retelling the original 2008 version with a new set of characters in a whole new universe, but with the same characters that you love, in order to tell a much larger story of what happens once Liv Tyler's eyes open at the end of the 2008 version. And it's interesting because when you go back and rewatch 1 after you watch 2 and 3, you'll see the connections that are made between Maya and the Strangers that we've kind of built into movie 1. After she's pushed beyond her breaking point time and time and time again, the kind of centrifugal question of her character is, who is she left with?
Sure. Now, the original film had a very minimalistic approach, often relying on tension rather than explicit violence. Can you talk about how this film, in The Strangers Chapter 1, kind of uses that same kind of aspect?
Yeah. I think it's such an important part of this genre of film and of this franchise in general, is like really allowing it to feel like it's passing in real time almost, like you're in the cabin with them, and you're hearing each creak, you're hearing each like knock on the door, you're hearing each step, and you know, I think that's something that Rennie and Courtney and you were like very much wanting to keep in the film. I mean, as a producer, what do you think about that?
I think it was really important to feel like you were living with the characters in those moments, which to your point is,
Jesus Christ.
it never gets better for me. It's always scary.
Man, I'm about to poo my pants. I hate, like, they're so creepy to me.
Welcome. Don't we make it a safe space?
So creepy.
It's hard to do an interview, right?
Right.
It's just like, what do I even do? Oh,
I do have one last question for you, though, about, so how would Cheryl Blossom fare in the Strangers world?
I mean, it depends on what season we're talking about. Is she a witch this season or not? Because if she's a witch, she's just zapping them.
No
They're
witch.
dead. No witch. She wouldn't do well. She'd break a nail and be upset, and then she'd be pissed at them. And honestly, she maybe would kill them. I think maybe movie 1, Cheryl Blossom would just get them out.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a tough bitch right there.
That's for real.
Yeah.
Real. Look, fantastic job in this film. I can't wait for Chapter 2 and 3, man. Oh, it was so tense.
Thank you so
Shouldn't have
much.
watched this by myself at night.
No,
That
you
was
should
the
have.
wrong
That's exactly
idea.
how you're supposed to
That's
watch
the way to
it.
Is Tamara here?
No.
I think you have the wrong home.